Hello. Right, let's just check we are live and have sound. Perfect. Welcome back to Consume Chats. We're now in season 2 and we're going to be talking about business partnerships. So this month we're going to be speaking to various people that Consume are partnered with and also talking to them about their business partnerships. So we're reflecting on how to find the right business partner and the benefits of having a partnership. Today we're going to be joined by my friend Matthew Walker from Precarious Drinking Game. I'm just going to see if we can add him now. Let's see if he will be on just 1 second. So if you want to watch back any of the Consume chats, they're all on the Consume Comms YouTube channel as well. Here he is, looking very sad
Hello.
today.
I've even shaved for you, Hannah.
I know, but this is not the Matthew that I recognise from the past couple of months.
Yeah, I thought I'd just shock you with a new look.
Looks very professional. I can see Rebs is on. Can you hear us all right, Rebs? Give us a thumbs up if everything is working and in order. Hopefully she'll say this. So I was going to just start with a brief introduction about how I met Matthew. So we met a few years ago in Future Labs when you were doing a talk about Precarious and how you came to be in business. So I saw you speak on stage and you looked like a very well put together young man. You gave a very articulate talk about Precarious. And you also seem to have made the right decisions about partners. So, which we'll talk about a bit in a second about your partnership with Amazon. So for those of you who don't know, Matt does many things, but one of the things that I know him for is Precarious Drinking Game, which I have here.
Wait.
So Matt, do you want to just tell us a little bit
Yeah.
about your business and beyond Precarious, if there's any other things that you've got on, because you always have 1 million different ideas. That's what I enjoy about
Yeah.
you.
Um,
A little
so
bit
I
of
always,
introduction.
yeah, so I've always been interested in business. I think when I was working full time in an office, it really hit home that I was like, right, okay, I really want to do something else that's not working for someone else, you know? So I remember that was like a revelation I had. And then I just spent loads of time reading, watching videos online, just trying to get myself in the business world. I remember I started going out networking when it was like the scariest thing ever to me. And I was just trying to figure out at the time what business I wanted to do because I didn't even know. I just knew I wanted to do some business. And I think a lot of people get in that position where they know they want to do something, but they don't know what it is. And I think I read somewhere that if you're going to give something a go, it should be something that you know a lot about or more about than the average person. And embarrassingly, at the time, it was going out and drinking and socializing with my friends because that's literally all I was doing at the time, which is quite sad looking back now.
No, that's fun.
But yeah, well, I suppose yeah. But as that being my main thing that I knew most about was sort of socializing and having fun. But that then led me on to making a drinking game. So it was once I realized that the thing that I knew most about and did the most was embarrassingly going out, having fun, drinking with my friends. But that meant that I could make something in this area because I knew more than the average person in the area. And I mean, it's a sort of same concept with everything. It's like if you're sat there and you're thinking, what business can I set up? I really want to do something. First step is look at what you know most about and where you can add the most value in an area. People have these ideas to make these grand businesses, but it's in an area that they aren't even interested in. They're just seen like someone got rich by it. So I suppose you've got to think about where your strengths are. And then this links in perfectly to partnerships because once you understand where you are and what your strengths are, you also can figure out where maybe your weaknesses are too. And once you know where your weaknesses are, then you can start looking at other people or groups of people that have those strengths. And then that's where you can start to see a strong partnership forming. That's my little sort of initial rant. But anyway, I created a drinking game and it did pretty well. It sold quite a lot on Amazon. The reviews were good. And I think because I was so in the area, I was able to make a product that worked well. And so that's sort of been my rule going forwards that whatever it is that I'm going to be doing, I've got to dive into that area
So
like
for
100%.
So for people that may not know, so Precarious is a drinking card game. So it's a pack of cards that you get, and you pick a card, and there's a task that you have to do with
Mm.
your friends. So it's a simple concept, but what I enjoy about it is all the cards are very relatable, and there you had a bit of an idea behind them, didn't you? Like you wanted them to do have a bit of a message and a bit of a purpose in those, so they weren't completely frivolous tasks that you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. So when I started looking at the market, because before I even dived into making a product, you see what's out there. And at the time, I was going around all these parties and things, and I just thought all the games were rubbish that people were playing. And there were three main issues really with what the products were that were on the market. One first thing was some of them focused on getting too drunk,
Mm.
and it was like booze was too central to the core of the game, which which I saw was a big problem because like you just ruin your night if you get too drunk and you don't remember it. So it's like that was like being pushed too hard. And the second thing was some of these games were too complicated. Like you mentioned there, my game's really simple. It's just you pick up the card and read it out. But some games just were like clapping games, and then it's like right, like go up in numbers. It's like mathematical drinking games and things where you've got to like do things, and they're funny when you mess up, but when you're drunk or drinking with your friends, it wasn't really the right type of thing.
I notoriously don't enjoy a game. I don't like to do games at Christmas as well. So for me to play this, it does have to be simple. I've got a very short attention span coupled with not enjoying
Mm.
games. So, and we have played this as a team before on our summer do's and stuff. So in those
Mm.
early days when you were like, right, I'm gonna make a drinking card game. How did you pick the right people? Because obviously you can't do it on your own. How did you pick the people to make it happen? How did you go
Yeah,
about
well,
that?
I think that's one thing you learn pretty quick is that you can't do it all on your own.
Yeah.
Like you nearly start out as a lone wolf, and you nearly think you can take on do everything, but you soon realize that I'm not the best designer in the world, and actually I can make a website, but is it actually good? And will it fit its purpose? Or I can figure out how to make a meme and stick it on my Facebook, but have I actually, do I really know about marketing? Do I actually know how most effectively? Do I have a strategy in any way? And I think it's one of the things. The more you know you don't know.
Yeah.
In that, like you think when you first start out, you think you know everything, and then you try something, you realize, oh wait a minute, this is a very deep cave, and I just thought it was a little cave, but actually, as I've gone in the cave with my lantern, it's actually turned into a massive cavern, and I think it's like that with every different aspect of a business. So with me, it was like, well, I didn't really have much money to spend on all these designers and things, which would have been great. But I figured out that I didn't have the strengths in my own toolkit to do everything. So it was for me at first, it was like Fiverr online and like favors from friends, and like just asking for little favors. Like I think I was at when you're in a bar and there's sometimes people going around taking photos to put on their Facebook pages, like I'd take my product out and get them photographers to take pictures of the product. So they were just like on the night out. They didn't even know they were my partner, but I'd be there and I'd just sort of put the game there and go, oh, can you just take a picture of that quick? And they'd take a picture and then send me that with you on Facebook. And then I've got a picture of my product by a professional photographer, but it was like, I didn't actually, do it. And actually just funny on that specific story then a photographer in a bar took some pictures of my product, and I still use them to this day. But I saw that he posted on Facebook the other day asking for, he's a photographer, and he wanted to take some pictures of this product for someone, but he wanted sort of smoke and steam, in the background, and he asked for anyone who vapes to help provide the smoke and the steam for his photo shoot. So tomorrow, I've been employed as not employed, I'm doing it for free, but it's sort of returning the favour. But I'm a professional smoke
Tickle.
machine maker for a photographer. And it was like a full circle because that was one guy who just helped me out, and then now I'm just helping them out. But it's not linked financially or anything like that. And that's probably like the most loose form of partnership you could probably ever have, where it's just like a favour.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely how you can get. And even going forward when you're an established business,
Mm.
you want to pick people that you both. You can always find people that need something as long as you're kind of reciprocating it. And Yeah, I would have pictured you. You are synonymous with vape smoke to me. You do not have vape in my office. Um, what about the more grand business partnerships like
Yeah.
Amazon? How do you go about? Is it very easy just to get listed on
Yeah.
Amazon,
Well,
or
in a way, I wouldn't see Amazon as a partnership, really. It's like if someone was selling on eBay, I probably
yeah,
wouldn't say they've got a partnership with eBay, and
but
it's sort of similar in a way. But like the biggest partnership I had at first was with the printing company who made the
okay,
game. So we had like a obviously it's a business relationship, but I needed someone to print my product for me, and there's a printing company in Leeds, a local company, and we established like a relationship, and we sort of quotes and things like that. But we've been working together now for years, and I help them out. It's sort of like a mutually beneficial relationship now. Like he helped out this young kid who was trying to set up a business, and then on the flip side, I've now given him clients like who want work doing. So not only is it just like that's the thing, it's not just them doing a job for me who asked for it. There's a lot more encompassed in it than it might first seem. But I suppose it's quite hard to unpick the specific advantages of a partnership like that because it's like with me and you, for example, like I was really struggling with my marketing and I just didn't have the time and energy to do it myself. And so we partnered with you guys because I knew that you at Consume did it pretty well, like, and you were on top of it, and you basically gave me the structure that I needed in my marketing. And I just by myself, I just would not have been able to do it. It would have just been like I don't know, the odd meme uploaded every Friday, if it's left to me. So, but that this partnership with like Consume's really changed like the whole marketing side of my business.
this
Like
is not an ad. This is not an ad.
it's not an ad, but it's seriously like I was like before me and Hannah like we got involved in marketing together, I was just like going online trying to find someone who was just going to do it for me. So I was looking for someone to do it, but it was like you put an advert online and say looking for someone to do my marketing, and you get like 50 messages of
Yeah,
people that just want to do your marketing, and it's it, I feel like your marketing's got a it's the heart of your bit. It shows what your business is about, and if the person doing your marketing doesn't understand your business, then that's not going to be reflected well in what you're outputting, right? So I think in terms of that, it was really helpful for me to partner with someone who actually knew me and knew the business and knew what it was about, because like a lot of the stuff me and you have actually developed that we now put into marketing was like I don't feel like we'd have got that with any like if it was a random person online we picked who didn't know me, because you seem to like you extract out of me things.
yeah,
Does that
I
make
hear that a
sense?
lot.
Like,
I think that is the key thing, like even with consumes marketing, when we first embarked on wanting to do our own marketing, we had Flow Design, and Russ and Craig at Flow Design have known me a long, long time, and it was easier for them to look from their perspective, look and tell me what the business meant to them.
mm,
So I think it's always easier to have a secondary person do your marketing, but it definitely, yeah, it's about extracting your story. But that's one of the things I want to talk about to you about, is that you always know someone that can do something. And for me, what even at this stage of my business, I'm always keen to understand, how do you pick the right person? How do I identify that person? For me, it's if I get on with them, if I can get a laugh. If I don't get a laugh out of them in that first meeting, then I think I'm probably not going to be able to do business with you. Do you have anything like that? How do you decide? How do you know? Is it gut instinct, or do you actually have a bit more structure than me?
I was thinking about this earlier because I think as humans we have a tendency to sort of group up with people like us, and like there's a saying that's we're the average of the five people we hang around with, or you become the average of the people you hang around with. And I think it was Tony Robbins who said we like people who are like ourselves or who we'd like to be. So naturally, people. That's why, like at school, all the emos sit on a table, or the I don't know, the chavs who are going to go for a cigarette later are sitting on one table, and everyone's sort of tribalized and grouped off. And I think we naturally just seek out people who are like us. But in the world of business, that can be a big red herring, I think, because, like I said at the start, there's certain skills that I realized I didn't have, and there's some skills I realized I have. And if I just sort of didn't think about who I was trying to bring in and just went on that instinctual, oh, he's like me. Oh, he knows the same stuff as me. Oh, cool, we'll get along. Then actually, is that an effective partnership? Because I'm not really filling the holes that I've got in my artillery. I'm just sort of layering the same again.
Yeah.
So I suppose it's just like the big thing is a balance between they've got to be similar in some ways, but also different enough to offer a reasonable advantage.
Yeah, I think, and that's a conversation I was having earlier today about networking. So I think for networking, you need to have a network of people that are in your industry to like bounce your ideas off. But then I also think you need a network of people who are in a completely different industry, completely different sector, and that's where you learn new things and you learn about new markets, new technologies, and all sorts of things. And I think a big part of both of our lives starting our businesses was around networking. Um, so do you have any tips or tricks for networking? I know I teased you about your icebreaker with the pint glass and the cord. What's bigger, the circumference or the length of the pint glass? But I've never forgotten that, and that is why I spoke to you because I thought, what is that lad doing with the pint glass and the
Now,
cord?
you see it as like some networking magic trick, to like, but that was just me doing what I would do anyway, like, I don't know, I'm just trying to make people like me probably. So, oh, look at this cool thing I've got, I can do, and then, but yeah, I think so your tips for networking was, I think originally, like, when we've been working this business for years and years, networking just seems like, oh, let's go networking. It's an easy thing to do.
Yeah,
But for most people, it's a really scary thing. And people in the business will go, oh, yeah, get yourself out networking,
yeah.
go to a networking event. But to someone who's never done that, and I remember feeling so scared, like going by myself to these events, and it's in my head, it's all these corporate guys in suits who are all millionaires, and I'm this little kid going there trying to make a drinking game. I just felt so like not even in the hierarchy. But actually, you soon realise that the types of people that go into these networking events, on the whole, they're about growth, and they're there for the same reason as everyone else is. It's not. So I think the biggest tip is just go and like push yourself. If that's what you want to do and that's what you're interested in, then go for. But even just for like self development and self confidence, like I've developed so much by pushing myself to go to these networking events. But say you've actually got to a networking event and then you want a tip for that bit. The next step is, well, push yourself to talk to people there, because you can go to a networking event and then just sort of stand with the people and just have a drink with them or something.
Which we have also
Or
done as well.
yeah, which you can do as well. Um, or you can go chat to that scary business looking person over there. And actually, when you do, you realize they're really nice and they're not some scary person. And they're actually really interested in what you're doing and they want to meet you. And you can never know what's going to come out of a conversation. So the big thing for me was just continually pushing myself to talk to people that I didn't know and not be scared to sort of join a conversation. Because I think it's really hard when there's a group of people having a conversation and you're stood by yourself and you look over at them. It's like really scary to just go over to that group and just go hi and join it.
Yeah,
But I realized that that's an okay thing to do. Like, but
yeah.
it was really sort of, it wasn't normal for me. It didn't feel comfortable at first, but now it's just second nature. I don't mind.
I think a top tip is like to not feel like you have to talk about business. It's not a
Mm,
pitch. Always like go over like we've just done a podcast on Sounds of the Underground where
mm,
Marisha talks about always being the coffee bit because she's always pouring coffee for everybody and that's actually how she does she got straight into it. She's always kind of there, ends up being like mother for everyone, like making tea and coffee.
yeah.
But yeah, I think that's quite a big bit of like business partners and business relationships. You don't know when you speak to somebody what's going to come out of conversation. I don't think I
Mm,
would have thought, I don't know, 6 years ago, 5 years ago, when I was looking at your kind of pitch when you were doing your presentation at Future Ups, I didn't think that we would end up doing business together. That definitely was never one of my goals.
mm.
It was just you seemed very interesting and friendly, and that's why I spoke to you. And then I wanted to know like what was longer, the circumference or the length of the pint glass, which is circumference actually. If anyone's curious.
It's so
Um,
anyone who's watching who doesn't know what we're talking about, like if you get actually on here, like a glass like this, like the circumference around the top is much bigger than this height, and not a lot of people know. It
nice.
seems like unintuitive, but if you want to make some friends at networking events, then you
Always have a
can you
pint
can
glass and an iPhone cable
always
with you.
yeah always have a tape measure if you can. It helps.
Um, So I think we've covered our questions are kind of what do you gain from a successful partnership, and that's basically it's someone to strengthen what you want to achieve. It's having an ally or someone in your arsenal that's going to help you fill in the gaps that you don't have. And I think when you definitely mature in a business, you realise it's okay to say you can't do things. When you start off, you're like, yeah, yeah, everything's fine, I can do everything, but um, definitely a big learning curve is being able to say, actually, I don't know what that is, explain it, or I don't know how to do it, can you help me? Um, do you have anything you want to recap in terms of tips or benefits of a business partnership? Any kind of, or
Well,
anything,
one thing,
examples?
like even like the last thing you said, the last point, you're talking about like how do you select your partners? And like interestingly, so I wanted to get my products into retail stores, which is a big task. Because if you think you're going to do it by yourself, that means somehow getting in touch with the people who run these big companies like John Lewis or whatever, getting time in front of them to then pitch your product to them, and then also getting a deal where you actually make money, and then also delivering it, which is a huge task. So I realized that if I wanted to get my products into retail stores, then I'd need to partner with someone in some way to do it. But in fact, I paid someone to find me the partner because it was so important that it was the right organization, company to do it. So, like, I actually paid someone, like, I hired a contractor to help me find the company that I was going to partner with to do my distribution side with. So that's how important it was to me. And because of coronavirus, things been a bit delayed, so I can't fully say like how amazing it's been. Now I've spent some money to pick the right person because I'm in the midst of that still. But that's just one piece of evidence that shows how important it is to pick the right person, or to pick the right company. So I got someone to look into like all the financial backgrounds, really think about my strategy, extract from me what I thought I needed, and then they went out and tried to find it because they knew about distributors a lot more than I did. So if I was
Yeah.
picking someone, it just like on my own instinct. I don't really know, but they actually have the knowledge. So I partner with someone to help me find a partner. Really,
And they'd
in a
already
weird way.
been through the system, hadn't they? They'd already done it before, so
Yeah.
it was a lot more straightforward because they were plugging into a system that they'd already
Mm,
done. Whereas instead of you trying to like work it out from scratch, you don't have
yeah.
to reinvent the
I
wheel.
think that like the amount of mistakes that you make, like when you're doing something for the first time, when you're setting something up or an online shop or a new product or whatever it is, the amount of hurdles that come along, you can't imagine the amount of things. Like one of my friends is just launching a new product, a CBD, like hair cream product, and he was like, he thought he'd launch it in like a month or two, but just the amount of tasks that are involved to make sure it's right, packaging, and then that person doesn't get back to you in time, and then this bit's delayed, but that it's just a big conglomerate of moving parts nearly. Um, yeah, I can't
Okay.
remember what the point was.
What do you have any kind of criteria for picking? For finding that successful business partnership, do you have any kind of criteria? Do you have um,
Mm.
how do you know? Well, you never really know until you're in it, but there should
Yeah,
obviously be some kind of criteria for why or who.
yeah, I suppose it's never rushing into something as well. Like, because say you had a product that you're working on and then you felt, oh, I can't take it any further, I need to get someone else in. And so I rushed to just try get someone else on board to try and move this product forward. By doing that, you could actually have a negative effect on you. Bringing someone in who's not aligned to it or doesn't have the same like view that you have, that can disrupt a business, and it can completely throw it off the track. So picking the wrong person can outweigh the benefits of, it's you've got to really be careful, I think, haven't you, with it, and not. I think that's it. You can get into a partnership, but as long as it's something that you can get out of reasonably, then it's not a big issue.
Yeah.
But if it's something like you're locked in for ages, then that would be something I'd be quite scared of, I think.
I think it's also good prevention for, I should mention at the start, that business partnerships don't necessarily mean formal business partnerships. We don't
Mm,
mean like, a partner and you're a co-director. Business partnerships are people that you meet, part of your network, your suppliers, your contractors, anybody like that. it's that kind of test of how do you know that this person is right to support me in my business. And for me, I think one of the things I like to do is have a social element to it,
Mm,
because people let their guard down then, and then you can kind of work out if they're for you or not.
yeah.
Especially when you run your own business, a lot of you put a lot of yourself into it, so it's got to be someone that gets that and can kind of offer you a bit of value and support. Um,
Yeah, true, actually. Yeah, I think that's a good point. Actually, that social element that networking has can really enlighten you to someone's sort of like truer intentions and truer views on things,
yeah,
and that is really useful knowledge to have when you're picking a business partner. And networking events are often the times full of potential business partners, so it fits in quite well, doesn't it? The
yeah.
the networking and partnership. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, we always feed everyone. That's what we do. I always try and like feed people, because then they've got the guard down normally if they're eating. That's why we always
mm.
feed you. So that's why we always gave you a sandwich when you came in
Is that wow?
to
I'm
test.
not accepting anything now. It's a
um,
plan.
okay. Is there anything you would like to share with anyone just to sum up about business partnerships?
Well, I'd say first is I was quite interested at first about why you'd want to talk to me about business partnerships, but it's a lot clearer now. And it was actually when I looked into it. So my like view of what a business partnership was that classic definition of like an official contracted business partner,
Mm,
where you go into a business 50-50 and, but actually, like you say, just mentioned, business partnerships is a lot wider scope than just a two people working on something. And once I realized that, I was like, actually, I've got quite a lot of partners and stakeholders that are involved, the people who make my products, the distribution company, my accountants, lawyers, marketing, all these different things are partnerships that have to be maintained as well.
yeah.
And I think that's an important thing to sort of think about. Like, once you set up a partnership, it's not just there forever.
Mm.
Um, it's nearly like planting a seed in a way. Like, you don't just plant a seed and leave it and just hope it forms a tree. You have to water it and care for it. And the, in the same way that we put loads of care into our products and services, we need to put a similar amount of care into the relationships that we have with the people we work with, because to me, that's the same importance as the actual product itself.
I think a lot of people forget that as well, because when you're running a business, you spend so much time like focused on your product or service, but then no one actually tells you that there's all this other stuff. You've got business admin,
Mm,
but a lot of time is spent just on retaining business partnerships and making sure that
yeah.
the people that you need around you are still there and doing what they need to be doing and know what you need from them as well.
Mm. This is one of
Um,
my big things. Like, we're not taught in school how to maintain relate. Like, we're not taught anything like that really. You pick it up.
I think it's very
Just
throwaway.
Yeah, you just pick up. Like, no one teaches you about some of these professional social things. Like, these social skills that are so useful in a professional environment. We never taught them at school, and you sort of have to pick them up when you get into the world.
Yeah.
But from what I can see, they're so important. So important.
My key thing is also kind of breaking the stereotypes of what a business person should be, um,
Mm,
because that in itself puts a lot of pressure on people trying to start a business. I think they've got to be very formal, and I mean, the main thing is just don't be mean. You can normally get by in life with that
yeah.
motive for most things.
Yeah.
Um, okay, well, I knew I wanted to speak to you because we have a business partnership. Even before we were doing business together, you're part of my network professionally as well. Um, so I've enjoyed this little ramble through how we do business. Um, do you have anything that you want to share? So I've got the new cards. Are they available for sale yet? Can you get them yet? They're coming soon. The new one, the
Yeah.
new couples. Got the
Yeah.
new
So
couples card.
I created a drinking game for couples as I thought about all the different couples around the country that are locked in together through the lockdown, and I thought they need something else to do. They're going to be at
We
each
really
other's
do.
throats.
It's true.
So I made a game basically for couples, and it's all about enriching relationships through laughter and silliness. And it actually links into what you just said before about that stereotype of business people that we have. Well, I think in the world at the moment we have just sort of everyone's got to be serious and take things really seriously, and there's all this awful news all the time and things. But I think it's okay to be silly, and I think that might be part of the way out. If everyone's just a bit more silly, has a bit more of a laugh, doesn't take things as seriously enough, and you can still be professional, you can still drive towards your goals and do businesses without being like Alan Sugar's in Alan Sugar's boardroom.
Yeah,
It's that whole like people like Gary V, these really strong online presence motivator people. They nearly gave me the impression that if you're not hustling every single second, you're a failure, and it's like they have this really serious tint that nearly gets put on entrepreneurship. Like, if you're not grinding, you're falling behind.
yeah,
And I
it's
think
not
that's nearly
healthy.
outdated. I think that's really outdated now, you know.
That's like my worst thing. Like definitely most of my client meetings, ours included, we spend 30 minutes talking about what actually needs to be done and an hour skirting around it and discussing other things because we need you to be in a creative mindset and we're not going to get that by pressurizing you into delivery. You have to have all of the rounded kind of more light-hearted conversations and chats, and then we get 30 minutes of gold. But then that 30 minutes of gold is a month's worth of content.
Yeah.
Um, so
It's actually
yes,
quite funny. Just one last thing, actually. When I was setting up this partnership with this distributor, I don't know if I've told you this, but so I had my contractor that I was working with to help me set up this partnership, and we were having a meeting with this lawyers to like sort out the contract. But as you know, lawyers are really, really expensive, and you literally like it's like hundreds of pounds of like an hour. It's just like, and the contractor said to me because she'd done it before. She said, "Look, we're going to go in here and we're going to do the minimalist small talk you can imagine. Okay, we're gonna go in, ask how his wife is, and get straight into it because every minute here is costing us so much money."
yeah,
And we went in, and it was like really formal. It was quite funny. She went, "How's the wife?" And he went, "Yeah, good. How's the husband?" And he went, "Yeah, fine." He went, "Right, let's get into it." And it was just like, it was nearly like a simulated like version of that light-hearted chat. But that was like a very unusual, I think, sort of circumstance. But
yeah.
it
I
was like
did
the complete
struggle.
flip side.
You know what
Like,
I'm like? I like to chat.
yeah.
I'd struggled. Maybe that's why I spent so much money in solicitors' fees.
Yeah.
Um,
The rinsing you. The
yeah,
rinsing you for, yeah.
better
No,
on
no, no.
ewemail.
Yeah. To be honest, I much prefer one of our types of conversations and meetings than one where you sat in with a lawyer and you're just talking about whatever.
That's because I like to make people comfortable. We definitely don't do any of our client sessions where it's very formal because we're writing content, we're doing marketing. How can you be creative if it's super formal? That's why we feed everyone that comes in that office gets fed. They get to enjoy the goldfish
Mm.
and with the relaxing lights. And yeah, I think that's a good point for anybody that's kind of going into business or even if they're trying to pivot now. You don't have to be super formal because that's it's just not there's no human connection. You don't get the best from people like that.
Mm. And I think we're having that, we're sort of seeing that with like influencers now. There's been like this burst of like these informal business people, like people like YouTubers, streamers, influencers, all these different new things that have come around. They're all casual types of businesses, right? They're not like strict with ties on and meetings and things like that. And I think that is the new generation of business is that type of more casual, more just part of your life. It's not this like big, important, scary business thing. It's just everyone's got the fingers in different pies, and business is like a normal part of life. Nearly, that's how I see it.
I think for us,
Um,
yes.
yeah, but
There
maybe
are
not for
still
everyone.
some other people out there that just like to have a 9 to 5, and that's absolutely fine. I envy those people some days. Um,
Mm,
but yeah, I think business partnerships don't have to be formal, direct type business partnerships. They can also be like ours. Um,
yeah.
and you get to have these rambles. So if you want to find more about Matt, he has a YouTube series, does all the things. He's got his YouTube channel. We've got Precarious channels. And once we're released back into the world, I'm sure you'll find us about networking and stuff all over the place. But I think definitely have a look at the old YouTube channel for more of Matt's insights. You'll learn something. Sometimes it's very entertaining. Sometimes you learn things. It's all the things. Um, so that's it for us today. So this is going to go up onto the Consume Comms YouTube channel. It'll also live on our Instagram channel, so you can watch back. It's been lovely chatting to you, Matt. Hopefully you'll be back in the
You as well.
office.
We
We'll
need to have a
see you.
meeting. We'll catch up, don't
We
we?
do need to have a meeting. We need to block out a
Yeah.
good 3 hours for
Mm,
chatting and actually doing stuff.
food
But
and coffee and jokes, magic tricks,
yes,
everything.
yeah.
All right, Brill.
All right. It was lovely to speak to you.
See ya.
And we'll catch up soon. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. See ya.